Hello friends, this is Music Man from his man cave, and today we're going to talk about the American car. Does it get such a bad rap? Does it deserve the bad rap that it gets? I mean, we're talking about like Dodge, we're talking about GMC, we're talking about Ford, we're talking about Chrysler, and how people think that Consumer Reports is bought off and that the American car is better than people say that it is. Well, let's talk about this, let's examine it, and then I look for your discussions below coming right at you right now. Okay, Music Man from his man cave, let's not talk from my personal bias. Let's talk from just the absolute facts. What makes American cars get such bad ratings like Consumer Reports and Consumer Review and from Motor Trend, and you go on down the list, you go on the internet, and so many complaints, lawsuits against GMC or whatever for tires wearing out before the bailout back in 2008. What do you do with all this? What does all this mean? Well, first of all, like I said, cars today are more reliable all the way across the board. However, you do get what you pay for. Toyota and Honda are more expensive. Nissan, right now they're trying some experimental things, and anytime you get into experimental things, you're going to have problems. So they tried the CVT, I think it's a transmission on the Altima, and the Altima is to stay away from it. Anytime they do something new, something technologically new, there's going to be problems. Ford, pretty decent cars, average cars, but they scored poorly because the Ford touch screen, it didn't work well for them, and so it hurt them. Now, what do the Japanese do that make their cars better? Well, like the same 2.2 liter motor is in the 92 through 2002 Camry, so they don't change their engines very much, and they improve on things that are poorly designed. Like 92 through 96 have the worst cup holders. You put them there in a drink, and with your stick shift or with your automatic, you're going to ram your hand into your drink. And then in 2000 or 1997, when they invented the next phase of the Camry, they put these big, huge drink holders right here, and they're so nice. Now, American cars, they want to upgrade, they want to update, they give a lot of variations of motors, like on the Impala. I'll use the Impala as an example that my uncle has. There's the 3.5 liter V6, which is a coarse engine, rough drivetrain. Then there's a 3.9 liter engine, which has this thing where it's supposed to shut down half the motor to save gas. That right there sounds like problems coming to me. Just like the turbo on the Pontiac, the SSE or whatever. Problems. Anytime there's new fancy gadgets, stay away. So also, they like to change things up. And sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. They claim that the 3800 V6 that was in the Buick, it was in the Cadillac, it was in the Regals, it was in the, going down the list, GMC motor. It was a good motor. Well, the intake manifolds would crack and rupture and dump antifreeze through the motor. And this happened on my uncle's Regal. This had the same motor we did. And it happened on our Pontiac Bonneville straining us in West Yellowstone. So these are the kind of things that get American cars in trouble. Another thing is American cars are fleet cars. That means like people that rent cars buy them, cops buy them, and so they're sold. There's a lot of them sold, but through fleet markets. They don't buy Toyota. Why? They're more expensive initially. So let's talk about that for a moment. So yeah, Toyotas are expensive. Hondas are expensive. So you buy an Impala for $5,000 less. Well, guess what? Within the first 10 years, you're going to put that $5,000 back into the car in repairs. That when they cut corners, you're going to have to do that. Now you may say, but Toyota has suspension problems. True. That's something to think about. That's the balance you have to make. Toyotas and Hondas are better made, for the most part. Hondas, their transmissions. Toyota, their suspension. But like the Impala, these motors, they have problems. They have electrical gremlins. Like my uncle's Impala, it's brand new. It only has 13,000 miles on it. Yet the other day, for no reason, all the lights in the interior dimmed down. My wife didn't know what was going on. I said, don't worry about it. Not our car. But it's things like that. I'd never have those things happen with Toyota. I've never had those little electrical gremlin things happen. Or tiny little things breaking all the time. I do finally when they reach about 180 to 200,050 miles. In that range, you're going to have to start to replace oxygen sensors and things like that. And hoses and such. But with American cars, you may have to replace those in the first 40,000 miles. Why? I have no idea. Why AC Delco can't get their act together and make better products, I do not have any idea. But it's always been the same. So you can buy an American car cheaper. Sometimes you get lucky. And you get one that it works. It does well. And sometimes with a Toyota, you get unlucky. And you get one that its motor goes bad in 50,000 miles. And some people get on there and say Toyotas are a piece of junk and whatever. But however, the bottom line is that Japanese cars have a standard of reliability that is better than American cars. That's just the way that it is. So what do you do with this information about American cars? Well, you need to realize if you're going to go out and buy a Taurus, or you're going to go out and buy an Impala, you're going to have little annoyances. I don't think that the transmissions and the motors are as bad as people put out. First of all, I think sometimes people buy them like with low miles after they've already been used and they buy them after they've been a rental or in fleets. And you don't know what's been done to that car. You don't know how it's been driven. It could have been gunned every day everywhere it went and so forth, and so you don't know. You know, or sit idling, the taxis, used as a taxi or whatever, and then you buy it, and you think it's a poor car. You know how many cop cars have you seen that are Toyotas or Lexuses or Acuras or Hondas? I haven't seen them. Why? Because they're expensive. So Chevy is a cheaper car. Tauruses are cheaper cars. They're more affordable cars. And they only have a lifespan of about 7 to 10 years before they completely implode. Now, Japanese cars last another about 5 to 10 years, but then they fall to pieces altogether. Once they start going, everything goes. And it's just, they go straight to the scrapyard. Anywhere from 200,000 to 300,000 miles, they just implode. So you have to weigh that all out when you're buying them. American cars have little annoyances that Japanese cars don't have. Things they didn't think out very well. And if you think American cars are so much better, I'm telling you, just go test drive a Lexus. Go test drive a BMW. You know, X3 or X5, which I do not recommend you buy unless you're a millionaire. Because you're going to have to put money into that car. But man, can that thing drive. There's just no comparison. The Japanese cars are superior. But you can actually come out doing pretty well. One thing to consider, and this will be the last thing I'll tell you to consider about American cars. Since there's so many Impalas, so many Tauruses on the road, still the top selling cars in America, there's going to be a lot of them in the junkyard and a lot of parts. And that 3.5 liter motor, I kind of like it. You can get around it. I don't know what that plastic thing is on the top of the motor. I'm probably going to scrap. I'd scrap that if it was my car. I'd just get rid of that. But you can get the things. You know, where the bigger ones, tight to get in there, tight to change the spark plugs, tight to work on. And so you're going to have a plethora of parts at the junkyard for an Impala. A lot of cheap parts, because there's going to be a lot of them. However, the Toyota Camry is a high-selling car. So you see, that's why I would choose a Camry over the Impala, because you're still going to find a lot of parts. It's one of the #1 sellers, and they are in a lot of junkyards. So if you buy an American car, there are ways to keep it running. #1, you're going to have to get familiar with your car, and you're going to have to get familiar with parts that are going to go on it and you're going to have to replace. Now, a lot of Americans don't like that hassle. They're very consumer driven, that they want something and then they want to discard it and get something new. Discard it, get something new. And that can be a problem. Anyway, just some food for thought. Japanese cars are better, but you can get a good value with an American car, but you better have a good savings account, because you're going to have to put some money into it. Music Man, talk to you more. American cars are good, but compared to Japanese, they're just average. Talk to you later. Bye.